Imagine a time in China long ago. This was a time of incredible change and discovery. It was a period when towering pagodas reached for the sky. Great cities bustled with more people than anywhere else on earth. Scholars painted beautiful landscapes on delicate silk scrolls. Inventors created things that would change the world forever. This was the era of the Song Dynasty, which lasted from the year 960 to 1279. It was a time that profoundly shaped the future of China. The Song Dynasty is often called one of China's golden ages. The story of the Song Dynasty begins in a time of chaos and division. The once mighty Tang dynasty had collapsed in the year 907, plunging China into a period of turmoil known as the Five Dynasties and 10 Kingdoms. For more than 50 years, the land was fractured. Warlords fought each other for control, and dynasties rose and fell with bewildering speed in the north. That leader was a military general named Zhao Guangyin. In the year 960, his troops, weary of the constant warfare and weak leadership, decided to take matters into their own hands. In a famous incident at Chen Bridge, they draped the imperial yellow robe over a protesting Zhao Guangyin, proclaiming him emperor. He accepted the mandate and established a new dynasty, which he named the Song. As Emperor Taizu, his first and most important goal was to end the divisions that had plagued China for half a century and bring the fractured kingdoms back together under a single ruler. Through a series of careful military campaigns and diplomatic negotiations, they gradually conquered the independent kingdoms of the south. By the year 979, the Song had successfully brought most of the traditional Chinese heartland back under its control. The era of division was over. A new unified empire had been forged, not just through conquest, but through a wise political strategy that prioritized civilian rule and stability over military ambition. The Song Dynasty was a period of extraordinary technological innovation, an era when Chinese ingenuity reached unprecedented heights. One of the most world-changing inventions to be perfected during this time was gunpowder. While its basic formula was known earlier, it was Song military engineers who truly harnessed its power. They developed the first firearms, including fire lances, which were spear-like weapons that could shoot a stream of flames and projectiles. They also created bombs, grenades, and even early forms of rockets and cannons. These fearsome new weapons gave the Song army a significant advantage and forever changed the nature of warfare not just in China, but across the world. Another revolutionary development was the widespread use of movable type printing. A commoner named Bisheng invented a system using individual characters made of baked clay around the year 1040. This was 4 centuries before Gutenberg's printing press in Europe. While woodblock printing was already common, movable type made it much faster and cheaper to produce books. This led to an explosion in the availability of written materials. Knowledge that was once the exclusive property of the wealthy elite could now be shared more widely. In the field of navigation, Song sailors made a crucial breakthrough with the perfection of the magnetic compass. While magnetic needles had been known for some time, it was during the Song that they were first used for navigating the open seas. The compass allowed ships to travel farther and more accurately than ever before, even on cloudy days or dark nights when they could not see the stars. This innovation, combined with the construction of massive seafaring ships called junks, transformed maritime trade. Song merchants could now sail with confidence to Southeast Asia, India, and even the coasts of Africa, connecting China to a vast and lucrative global trade network. Beyond these great inventions, Song scientists and engineers made countless other advances. They built sophisticated astronomical clocks, like the one designed by Su Song, which was over 30 feet tall and powered by water. This clock tower not only told the time, but also tracked the movements of the sun, moon, and planets with remarkable accuracy. In medicine, doctors wrote important texts on anatomy and pharmacology, and the practice of acupuncture was further refined. In architecture, builders developed new structural techniques that allowed them to construct towering pagodas and vast bridges, masterpieces of engineering that showcase the dynasty's incredible technical skill and intellectual vibrancy. The Song Dynasty is renowned for its sophisticated and elegant artistic achievements, particularly in the realm of painting. During this period, landscape painting, or shanshui, meaning mountain water, became the most esteemed form of art. Artists were not interested in creating a realistic photographic copy of a scene. Instead, they sought to capture the essence or spirit of nature, its underlying principles and cosmic energy, known as qi. Painters like Fan Quan and Guo Shi used monochrome ink and subtle brushstrokes to create vast, awe-inspiring vistas of towering mountains, misty valleys, and tiny human figures, suggesting humanity's small place within the grand, harmonious order of the universe. In the field of ceramics, Song artisans produced some of the most beautiful and sought-after pottery in Chinese history. They perfected the art of creating exquisite porcelain wares, celebrated for their simple forms, delicate glazes, and understated elegance. Wares like the pale bluish-green roux-ware, the creamy white dingware, and the black-glazed janware, famous for its oil spot or hare's fur patterns, were prized by the imperial court and the scholar class. These ceramics were not just functional objects. They were works of art that embodied the refined aesthetic tastes of the era, emphasizing harmony, subtlety, and a deep appreciation for natural beauty. Literature also flourished, thanks in large part to the spread of printing and the rise of a highly educated scholar official class. Poetry remained a vital form of expression, with poets like Su She, also known as Su Dongpo, becoming cultural superstars. Su Shi was a true Renaissance man, a poet, painter, calligrapher, and statesman, whose works were filled with wit, philosophical insight, and a profound love of life. A new form of poetry, the CI lyric, became especially popular. Originally written to be sung to musical tunes, CI lyrics often explored themes of love, loss, and nostalgia with a more personal and emotional tone than earlier poetic forms. Beyond poetry, prose writing also reached new heights. The Song Dynasty saw the rise of a new intellectual movement known as Neo-Confucianism, led by thinkers like Zhu Xi. These philosophers reinterpreted the ancient Confucian classics, blending them with ideas from Taoism and Buddhism to create a comprehensive ethical and metaphysical system that would dominate Chinese thought for centuries. At the same time, historical writing became more professional and analytical, with scholars like Sima Guang compiling the monumental Ziji Tongjian, or Comprehensive Mirror to Aid in Government, a detailed chronicle of Chinese history that became a model for future historians. This rich intellectual and artistic environment defined the Song as a true golden age of culture. Life during the Song Dynasty was a study in contrasts, especially between the bustling cities and the quiet countryside. The cities were centers of wealth, culture, and excitement. Capitals like Bianjing, which is also known as Kaifeng, and later Linan or Hangzhou, were among the largest and most sophisticated urban centers in the world, with populations exceeding 1 million people. These cities were laid out in a grid-like pattern, with wide avenues, canals for transport, and specialized districts for different trades. For the first time, city walls were not just for defense. They enclosed vibrant commercial and residential areas that buzzed with activity day and night. Urban life was dynamic and diverse. The streets were crowded with merchants, artisans, scholars, soldiers, and entertainers from all corners of the empire. People could visit bustling marketplaces to buy goods from far-flung lands, from spices of Southeast Asia to pearls from the Persian Gulf. They could dine in restaurants that offered a huge variety of regional cuisines, enjoy performances in theaters and tea houses, or just relax in beautiful public gardens. The cities offered opportunities for social mobility that were unimaginable in the countryside. A clever artisan or a shrewd merchant could become wealthy, and their sons could study for the civil service exams, hoping to join the ranks of the educated elite. Life in the countryside, where the vast majority of the population still lived, was very different. It was a world governed by the seasons and the rhythms of agriculture. Most people were peasant farmers who worked small plots of land, often as tenants for wealthy landlords. Their lives were filled with hard physical labor, planting and harvesting rice in the south, or wheat and millet in the north. While they did not have access to the luxuries of the city, their lives did improve in some ways during the Song. New, faster-growing strains of rice were introduced from Vietnam, allowing farmers to harvest 2 or even 3 crops a year, which increased food security. Despite these agricultural improvements, rural life remained challenging. Farmers were vulnerable to droughts, floods, and famines. They had to pay taxes to the government and rent to their landlords, which could be a heavy burden, especially in bad years. While the countryside was the backbone of the Song economy, producing the food and raw materials that fueled the cities, there was a growing gap between the urban rich and the rural poor. The government tried to implement reforms to help farmers, but the allure of the city, with its promise of wealth and excitement, continued to pull people away from the fields, transforming the social landscape of China. The Song Dynasty is perhaps most famous for its incredible economic growth, often described as a commercial revolution. This was a period when China's economy became the most advanced and productive in the world. At the heart of this transformation was a massive increase in agricultural output. The introduction of new farming techniques, better irrigation systems, and new strains of crops, especially the fast-ripening champa rice, created a food surplus. This meant that not everyone had to be a farmer. More people could move into cities and specialize in other trades, becoming artisans, merchants, or scholars, which really fueled urban growth and economic diversification. This economic boom was also powered by a revolution in commerce and trade. The government supported trade by building and maintaining a vast network of canals, rivers, and roads, which made it easier and cheaper to transport goods across the empire. The Grand Canal, in particular, was a vital artery, carrying grain from the fertile south to the populous north. For the first time, production for the market became widespread. Farmers began to grow cash crops like tea, sugar, and cotton, while artisans in specialized workshops produced goods like silk, ceramics, and iron tools for sale in markets both near and far. One of the most significant signs of this commercial revolution was the invention of paper money. As trade grew, carrying heavy strings of copper coins became increasingly impractical. In response, merchants in the province of Sichuan began issuing paper certificates of deposit, which were promises to pay the bearer a certain amount of coin on demand. The government soon recognized the utility of this system and, in the 11th century, took over the production of paper currency, creating the world's first government-issued paper money. This innovation greatly facilitated long-distance trade and large-scale commercial transactions, making the economy more dynamic and efficient. The Song economy was not just internally focused, it was also a major player in global trade. Advanced shipbuilding technology and the use of the compass allowed Song merchants to dominate the sea lanes of East and Southeast Asia. Chinese junks laden with silk, porcelain, and tea sailed to Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and the islands of Indonesia. From there, goods were traded onward to India, the Persian Gulf, and even the east coast of Africa. In return, China imported exotic goods like spices, ivory, pearls, and fragrant woods. This thriving maritime trade brought immense wealth into the empire, further fueling the economic golden age and making Song China a central hub of the medieval world economy. The history of the Song Dynasty is filled with remarkable individuals and pivotal events that shaped its destiny. One of the most influential figures was the reformist chief minister Wang Anshi, who served under Emperor Shenzong in the 11th century. Wang believed the state needed to take a more active role in managing the economy and strengthening the military to counter threats from northern nomadic tribes. He launched a series of bold and controversial reforms known as the New Policies. These included providing low-interest loans to farmers, fixing commodity prices to prevent speculation, and reorganizing local militias to bolster defense. His policies sparked fierce debate at court and divided the scholar official class for decades. Another towering figure was the great general Yue Fei, who became a symbol of patriotism and resistance during the Southern Song. After the Jurchen invaders conquered northern China in 1127 and captured the emperor, Yue Fei led the Song armies in a heroic fight to reclaim the lost territories. He was a brilliant military strategist who won many victories against the Jurchens and was on the verge of recapturing the old capital. However, a faction at court led by the Chancellor Qin Hui favored peace. Fearing Yue Fei's growing power and influence, they had him recalled, imprisoned, and ultimately executed on trumped-up charges. Yue Fei became a martyr, and his story is still told today as a tragic tale of loyalty and betrayal. A pivotal and traumatic event was the Jingkang incident of 1127. For years, the northern Song had faced increasing pressure from the Jurchen people of Manchuria, who had established the Jin dynasty. After a series of diplomatic missteps and military defeats, the Jurchen armies besieged and captured the Song capital, Bianjing. They took Emperor Huizong, his son Emperor Qinzong, and thousands of members of the imperial court into captivity in the cold north. This catastrophic event marked the end of the northern Song dynasty. It was a moment of profound national humiliation that forced the remaining members of the imperial family to flee south and establish a new capital. The establishment of the southern Song in Lin'an, now known as Hangzhou, was another key moment. Led by a surviving prince who became Emperor Gaozong, the dynasty managed to survive and stabilize its rule south of the Huai River. Although it had lost half of its territory, the southern Song entered a period of continued prosperity and cultural brilliance. The south was economically the richest part of China, and maritime trade boomed from its coastal ports. The court at Lin'an became a center of art and culture, producing some of the dynasty's most famous painters and poets. This resilience in the face of disaster demonstrated the underlying strength and adaptability of Song society. The decline of the Song dynasty was a long and complex process, driven by a combination of internal weaknesses and overwhelming external threats. A persistent problem throughout the dynasty was the immense cost of maintaining a large standing army and a vast civil bureaucracy. The government's solution was often to print more paper money, which led to severe inflation. This devalued the currency, hurt the economy, and caused hardship for ordinary people. Political infighting at court also weakened the state. Factions of scholar officials often engaged in bitter struggles for power, arguing endlessly over policies concerning reforms, defense, and how to deal with the northern invaders, which paralyzed effective governance. The most significant external threat came from powerful nomadic empires to the north. For the entire northern Song period, the dynasty had to contend with the Khitan Liao and the Tangut Western Xia dynasties, to whom they paid large annual tributes of silk and silver to keep the peace. Later, the Jurchen Jin dynasty proved to be an even more formidable foe, conquering all of northern China in 1127. The southern Song spent over a century in a precarious balance of power with the Jin, punctuated by periods of warfare and uneasy truces. This constant military pressure drained the treasury and kept the empire in a permanent state of high alert. The final blow came from a new and unstoppable force that emerged from the steppes of Central Asia, the Mongols. Led by the brilliant and ruthless Genghis Khan, the Mongols began building a vast empire in the early 13th century. They first conquered the western Xia, and then turned their attention to the Jin dynasty, destroying it in 1234. This brought the Mongols directly to the northern border of the southern Song. For the next 4 decades, the Song mounted a desperate and heroic resistance against the Mongol armies, who were now led by Genghis Khan's grandson, Kublai Khan. The Song's fortified cities and riverine navy held out far longer than anyone expected. The end finally came in the 1270s. The great Mongol general Bayan led a massive army and navy down the Yangtze River, capturing one Song stronghold after another. The crucial city of Xiangyang fell in 1273 after a grueling 5-year siege. In 1276, the Mongols captured the southern Song capital of Lin'an, taking the young emperor and the empress dowager captive. The last remnants of the Song court fled by sea, holding out for 3 more years. The final tragic end came in 1279 at the Battle of Yamen, a massive naval confrontation. Seeing that all was lost, a loyal official took the last child emperor in his arms and leapt into the sea, choosing death over capture. With this act, the Song dynasty came to an end. Although the Song dynasty was conquered, its influence did not disappear. In fact, its legacy has echoed through Chinese history and continues to shape China and the world today. The Song's technological and scientific innovations, such as gunpowder, movable type printing, and the magnetic compass, were transmitted along trade routes like the Silk Road. These 4 great inventions, including papermaking from an earlier era, eventually reached Europe, where they helped spark the Renaissance and the Age of Discovery. The Song's advancements in engineering, medicine, and mathematics laid a foundation for future scientific inquiry, both within China and beyond its borders. The political and social structures established during the Song had a lasting impact on Chinese governance, The merit-based civil service examination system became the standard method for recruiting government officials for nearly 1,000 years until the early 20th century. This created a ruling class of scholar officials who were valued for their intellect and education rather than their aristocratic birth. The philosophical system of Neo-Confucianism, solidified by thinkers like Zhu Xi, became the official state orthodoxy. Its principles shaped Chinese education, family values, and social ethics for centuries to come, profoundly influencing the cultures of Korea, Japan, and Vietnam as well. Economically, the Song Dynasty set a new standard for commercial vibrancy and prosperity. It demonstrated how a society could be powered by commerce, technological innovation, and a sophisticated market economy. The use of paper money, the growth of large-scale industries like iron and ceramics, and the development of extensive trade networks created a model of economic dynamism that was unparalleled in its time. While later dynasties like the Ming sometimes turned more inward, the memory of the Song's commercial golden age remained an important part of China's economic consciousness, a testament to what was possible. Ultimately, the Song Dynasty is remembered as a high point of Chinese civilization. It was an era of incredible creativity, intellectual curiosity, and refined culture. The delicate landscape paintings, the elegant porcelain, and the timeless poetry of the Song continue to be admired as some of the greatest artistic achievements in human history. The dynasty represents a period when China was arguably the most advanced society on Earth, a place of bustling cities, brilliant ideas, and profound beauty. By studying the Song, we gain a deeper understanding of the foundations of modern China and appreciate a truly remarkable chapter in the story of our world.